With the fall of the Soviet Republic and the Berlin Wall, the world was said to have reverted to a unipolar system where every nation had to adhere to the precepts of capitalism in order to advance and attain socioeconomic development. The socialist competition, which had been the object of a prolonged Cold War, was dead. And the Cold War itself was never cold in Africa, as the Soviets and the Americans made African nations to choose sides. This is a lot of history behind that for those who care to learn. Francis Fukuyama, a Japanese American, had written his book, The End of History, to signify that every nation which intends to attain economic development now had to toe the capitalist order. There was never going to be anything new under the sun, he averred. Other nations which intend to maintain the economic statuses had to also run according to capitalist precepts. But from the blues emerged China, with a different kind of capitalism, state-led, which made economists do a double take. History continued as China showed a different model by which state-owned companies competed with other private companies around the world with the backing of the Chinese states. Some of those companies are among the largest in the world today, from banks to construction companies. Some of them are in operation in Nigeria today as we speak. Should these events not prompt African nations, especially Nigeria, to think differently and indeed be self-focused if we intend to achieve economic and social progress? We have a huge backlog of underachievement to tackle: high illiteracy, poverty, unemployment, and whatnot. We need to lift our poor people and close the income gap. We need to produce more as well. My guest today thinks otherwise. He's very much a capitalist. He believes strongly in the capitalist ideology and that every man should fend for themselves. We have brought him on the show, all right, today, the Nationalist, because there may be some critical aspects that we are missing on this show, or missing out in the analysis, which he will hopefully explain to us today. Welcome with me, Engineer Ahmad Sadiq, and it's great to see you, Engineer Ahmad Sadiq.
Thank you so much, Mr. Professor.
Fantastic.
Doctor.
Yes, well, whatever works, yeah.
Yeah.
So you see, I've kind of set you up with that introduction.
Yeah.
So now is the time for you to explain yourself. You are such an avid and unabashed and unrepentant and unrelenting believer in capitalism. You know, I mean, so why do you have so much belief in that system of government and of running the economy?
Yeah, so basically because there's plenty of evidence that capitalism works. If you look across the world, especially the China that you mentioned, China practiced communism for over 40 years, and it brought nothing other than poverty and hunger. And then when they eventually abandoned communism and adopted market economy in 1978, the country started growing. So
under Deng Xiaoping.
Yeah, under Deng Xiaoping. So it grew consistently at double-digit growth rate for more than 40 years. And I happened to be in China in 2006 for the first time, and I witnessed that firsthand. In 2006, China was not as shiny as it is today. So you can see,
what does it feel like to be in an economy that's growing at double digits? I'd like to live in such a country.
Yeah, so
you feel it as a citizen.
Yeah, so what you will feel as a citizen is a sense of hope. So a sense that tomorrow is always going to be better than today, because you can see that your life is better than your parents' one, and then your children's life are going to be better than yours. I mean, when I was there, I was with my family. My wife was there. We had to engage a HEP. I think they called a babysitter, basically. Yeah. And they are professionals. They call them aunties. And we were able to pay, I think, the equivalent of 70,000 naira at the time.
Okay.
Of course, naira was much more. Maybe 70,000 naira at that time was probably around $500, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, but we have kept in touch. And I know that she's a lot richer. I can't afford to hire her today.
Wow.
Yeah, right now. So, I mean, that is how people grow in that country. I know people that were students, fresh graduates at that time, and they bought house worth hundreds of millions of naira right now. So
Hundreds of millions of naira.
yeah, so fresh graduates at that time when I was there. So you basically look around and see that virtually everybody's life is improving. Everybody.
But this is but it's almost the same kind
Yeah.
of system Nigeria is running. Everybody is on his own in Nigeria. Let me give you this an anecdote. Well, not an anecdote. Something that happened. I had cause at some point to come to Nigeria with a British friend of mine, a white British, and we had a program going on in Mina.
Okay.
And so we left Abuja early in the morning. We were driving into Mina. It was about 8:30 to 9.
Yeah.
And on all the streets in Mina, on that main road that goes into Mina, there were people pushing their carts and coming to do their business.
Yeah.
And it was wow. They said, wow, your people are so hardworking entrepreneurs. Nobody waits for government. So, so what kind of system do you say you've been practicing in Nigeria that's not capitalism? Everybody is on their own.
Well, I think, Nigeria has been practicing capitalism, even though with plenty of opposition to it. Because probably at the independence, I think the independent leaders, like the Tafawa Balewa government, was capitalist to a large extent. But if you look at the intelligentsia, I think they've been always socialist-oriented, possibly because of the exposure to the welfare state in the UK, who was our colonial master. So they believed that government should take care of certain things. And then we had the oil boom of the 70s. Which basically made us believe that the government is rich enough to do the welfare we're talking about. So in terms of subsidizing even food was subsidized at the time, not just what they call it, not just petroleum. So a lot of things were subsidized.
Would that not be because be because when you talk about the welfare state, which they have in the UK, in most of Europe, even in America, there are food banks, there are Medicaid, Obamacare, all sorts of things for people who are down on their luck and all of that. But I mean, even though I remember Sir Tafawa Balewa saying that they were non-aligned, he kept repeating that word non-aligned, that they didn't want to go socialist or capitalist. Of course, by then the Cold War had started.
Exactly.
The Cold War is that war that started after the Hot War ended for them in Europe and America. But it was hot in Africa. It was the time that coups were taking place, people were getting killed, wars, civil wars, and so on. So yes, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was basically non-aligned. But even if the intelligentsia, people like Awolowo and co, were on this a bit on the left, socialist side, don't they have justification? Remember, there was a picture Obafemi Awolowo took when he went to the Niger Delta. This is on the internet, where he was with children, maybe between the ages of, let's say, 4 and 13, 14, and all of them were naked. Naked as in stark, So, and so someone like that who was running the economy as Minister of Finance at a point, do you think he should tell those kind of naked people to go and find their level and, without, trying to bring them up?
So now the question is, so you want to bring them up with what are you going to bring them up? So you need money to do that.
Yes, you need money.
Yeah, and that money.
But not only money, though.
Okay. So what else? Education still need money. So
you still need money, yes.
So
But okay, for example, now let me challenge you on one thing. Let me challenge you on one thing. So I talk about factor substitution.
Yeah.
That sometimes if you don't have a factor of production, you use what you have to get what you want.
Exactly.
So if I say you, Engineer Sadiq, should go and teach, okay, for example, in a secondary school, being an engineer, you are good in physics and chemistry, biology, mathematics.
Like a community service.
As a community service.
Yeah.
In that case, I may not pay you, I may not be able to afford you as a government. I may not even pay you anything. You may have achieved a lot in life. You say, look, let me give back to these people.
Yeah.
At that point, you see that there are other things that are useful. There's more than money. For example, the emotion you have to say, let me give back to my people. How about that? How come we're not using that in Nigeria? And I thought that could have helped in that kind of situation.
Well, I think it's a very good idea that you just mentioned. And I think there are plenty of good ideas that we can sit down here and think about. But I think it's more productive for us to look at ideas that have been tried before and that has worked. And we have plenty of data to look at. So, I mean, history of over almost 200 different countries.
Yes.
And some of them have hundreds of years of history.
Exactly.
So some ideas have been tried, and one thing we realize is that incentive is very important.
Exactly.
So you can ask people to work for free without payment and use patriotism to ginger them. But without incentive, they may not be able to put in their best.
Maybe, yeah.
In
some instances, yeah, but you know.
So because so when you're talking about patriotism, I don't think it can be more patriotic than the Maoist China, for example. So Maoism was very, very patriotic, but yet it failed.
It failed.
So okay. So because the incentive was missing.
Remember,
Okay.
China went into capitalism.
Yeah.
They joined the World Trade Organization in 2001.
Yeah.
After the 2001 unfortunate September 11 event had happened,
Yeah.
maybe Americans were distracted, and then China went into the market. But before they went into the market, remember the story of the Chinese bamboo?
Yeah.
When you plant it, you water it for 6 years, and nothing will come up.
Yeah.
Now maybe in the 6.5 years, boom. And every day, this bamboo is growing 5 meters every day.
Yeah.
Every day 5 meters. Okay. But because they had watered it for 5 years, 6 years, and it had taken root, I think that the Chinese idea of capitalism was one that had taken root. And again, I wanted to say something. They said, how can you practice capitalism when you don't have capital?
Yeah.
Did African countries like Nigeria, did we have that capital in a capitalist world in which you are competing? And the people who have the capital, at some point, one day I was in a castle in Surrey, in UK.
Okay.
And this castle, I mean, we had a wedding reception there, but the castle had been built with slave money.
For hundreds of years before.
Yes, slave
centuries
money
before.
and colonialism money.
Yeah.
So can we compete in that environment?
Now, okay, so there are two questions here. So the first is, so you don't have the capital, how do you do capitalism? And the second question is about, so these people already have infrastructure that was built cheaply with slave labor. So we are starting afresh, and in most of the time we are even hiring people that are overpaid to build, like hiring Germans to build bridges here.
Exactly.
So we are overpaying them in dollars. So I think that's, I will get to that point.
Yeah, you get to that point.
Yeah.
I'll let you get to that. But the point also remains that, you know, you mentioned something now. If we're paying Germans to build bridges, even mere roads, forget bridges, mere roads, okay, clear the road, compact the road, pour the whatever you need to pour, you know, make sure it's good. And our own people are not doing it.
Yeah.
Between that point and what I think we should be doing, we're not using that factor substitution of using our own graduates and our own labor.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
And we say they don't have work.
Yeah.
And we give the work to Germans and of late also the Chinese.
We are
and the Chinese will bring their own people to do the work.
Exactly.
Don't you see there's something missing in our capitalism?
So I think there is. And so I'll start with the first question, which is we don't have the capital. So, but there are 4 factors of production. So
more than that, I'll tell you more, but continue.
So, I mean, traditionally, so of course, there are new thinkings nowadays.
Yeah.
I have not gone to school recently.
Exactly. Hold your thoughts. We'll go on a short break, and then when we come back, we'll be continuing on this discussion on capitalism and other forms of, you know, systems of running the economy. Stay tuned. Welcome back to your show, The Nationalist. And today we've been speaking with Engineer Ahmad Sadiq on the issues of and the subject of capitalism and other forms of running the economy. So welcome back, Engineer.
Thank you so much.
Before we left, we were discussing that critical issue of why are we, I mean, is there any value to patriotism and nationalism, and how can we do factor substitution? Why are we bringing in Germans to build our roads, Chinese to build our roads, and even very basic things? And do we have the capital at all to even fight in the game of capitalism?
Yeah. So I think, so the question of whether we have the capital, no, we don't, but we can acquire it. So it's just the way we as individuals, so if you come from a poor background, you see a lot of people that came from poor background, and they worked their way up and make money. China, as a country, was very poor in the 70s, 80s, and they realized that in order to compete, they have to be part of the global economy. And they have nothing to offer, so they don't have any technology. They don't have any product that is advanced enough to sell internationally. And they don't even have the money to invest. So they decided to open their border and let in the Western companies to come in.
Yeah.
So the Western companies, they came in with their money, they came in with their expertise. They trained the Chinese because they needed their cheap labor.
They needed cheap labor.
Yeah, they needed cheap labor. So
you need to be trainable first.
Yeah, you have to be trainable, yeah. So, but again, a lot of the things you need to do manufacturing, to work in a factory is not a lot of training. So you just discipline you need and be able to.
You see, now you're mentioning some soft issues like discipline, patriotism, nationalism, all of this. I believe that the Chinese were ready by the time they invited the West.
Yeah, they were ready.
And what did they do to get ready?
I think, so a lot of people will say the communism, but I wouldn't say communism per se because...
what about the industrial revolution, the Cultural Revolution of Emperor Mao?
I still feel that all of Mao's efforts were wasted time, so they could have gone faster without Mao. Even though Mao is still credited with bringing the country together as a single entity. So I think that's his biggest achievement. But in terms of economy, I think it was just a series of disasters from one to the other. So, but what the Chinese have is they have a long history, so 5,000-year history. And this thing called meritocracy actually started in China.
I think there's value in history as well.
Exactly.
Because people are able to say, remember where we're coming from.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, we not only have a fairly short history, most of our history is colonial history, but even contemporary history since independence, we don't even want to learn any of this.
We don't want to do that. But apart from that, so in terms of China as a civilization, so they have a lot in their history to draw from. So Confucianism, for example, is this philosophy that is like a religion for them there. So that's what they take their morality. Their nationalism and the communal way of life. Well, the capitalism also comes with competition. So provided there's a level playing field for everybody. So let's say something like the oil industry, for example. So if the government make it easy for anybody that wants to import to bring in the oil. So I know that we have some refineries right now, but there are countries like America, they have refineries, but they're still importing, right?
Yeah.
So it's a market. So if the home producers are selling too costly, ordinary citizens can start, you have your money, you go to the bank, you get a loan, you start importing, there's money to be made, right? So, or maybe you have enough money to start your own refinery. So provided there's money to be made, people can invest. So if the barrier of entry is lower, it means that the current people that are operating in the industry cannot charge too high. Because if you charge too high and your profit margin becomes too much, it will attract other people to come into the business.
And crowd out.
And crowd it. So I think competition safeguards that.
Some people always have more information than other people in the market. For example, Nigeria's stock market went down in 2009 or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Because some guys manipulated the market and they knew more than the majority of the people.
Yeah, that's true.
And while they were doing that, they were pumping up information and say, hey, we're going to make 500%. Come and put your money. And as the people were putting their money, they were getting out of the market.
Yeah.
So what do you have to say to that?
I think, naturally, everybody cannot have the same level of information. So some people are more informed than others. And it's because of that difference in information that some people become richer, because you are able to see opportunities that other people cannot see.
Exactly.
But that's not a bad thing, in my opinion.
I was going to say, that. The other, when you mentioned 4 factors of production, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. In my own work as an economist, I've been able to also recognize some other factors. For example, we're just talking about information now.
Yes.
Information is a factor of production that can stand on its own. Because with information, you can make money. Knowledge, which is a bit broader than information. When you have the knowledge, go to school and all of that, you can make money, you can produce. And also, you have technology,
Yeah.
which is not land, it's not labor, it's not capital. Some people want to put capital as part of technology.
Yeah, I think that's the way I see it.
But technology is massive on its own
and
now.
knowledge is also part of labor.
For example,
information is part of entrepreneurship.
not necessarily. You cannot. No. Because I think the bottom line that we should note is that economics as a school is also expanding.
Yeah, it is.
So we cannot put it at the level of the thoughts of Adam Smith in 1786.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's
Because we are now in
innovation
the knowledge
everywhere.
economy.
Knowledge is exact. Now we're in a knowledge information economy, in a tech economy.
Yeah.
These things have to begin to stand on their own as factors of production.
Okay.
But they are now more important than things like land. How many people need? I mean, how much land does Facebook or Google have? Or, they don't have much land.
Yeah, they don't need it.
But anyway, back to the issue.
Yeah.
Some of these capitalist countries they are talking about, they seem to have very large social sector, social benefit sector.
Yeah.
Like the United States has the Medicaid, Obamacare, food banks, food stamps, and all of that. And in fact, they seem to have more than we have in these parts. How do you reconcile that?
Yeah, I think I will say that is politics, right? So politicians will always invent those benefits in order to win election. So because if you look at data, and I was just before this interview, I was talking to you about Thomas Sowell. So he has shown that in the US, for example, blacks were actually better off. So if you look at all the economic indicators in terms of crime rate, the level of education, the number of single-parent families, so the indicators were better in the 40s and 50s before the welfare program was invented in the 60s.
Oh, okay.
So after the welfare program came, things actually got worse. So yeah. So what is the benefit? So when they are when they are working on things like welfare, so what is the objective? So it has to be clearly defined that is it meant to reduce poverty? And they're running for 10 years and check again. Have you actually reduced that poverty or you increased it? So because the problem with welfare is that it does not really, so you're just telling somebody that he cannot help himself. So you should wait for the government to help him. So that creates a mentality of entitlement. And then you make him to blame the system and blame other people for his...
mind you, okay, but if we go back to the basics, you're basically saying that the government oughtn't to have come to tell us to go to school. Come to tell our parents to send us.
I think the best.
There was a time, and I think Alhaji Atiku mentioned it, that they jailed his father for not sending.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and perhaps maybe we should bring back that kind of law now. You can see how we've gone back.
Yeah, I think the best thing that government can do.
If they jailed his father in the 40s for not sending him to school, okay.
If they didn't jail him,
and the law is still there,
he wouldn't be a candidate today.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
so.
True.
Can we actually just say people should take their own decision?
I think I'm not talking about people taking their decision. What I'm talking about is in terms of whether people can help themselves or not. So the best thing that government can do is helping people to help themselves.
Yes.
So and if you want to help somebody, help develop his his capacity. So his skills and education is the thing. Yeah. And that's where the Chinese actually got it right.
Yeah.
So because when they opened up and the investors started coming in, so they built factories. So the poor people in China, they were going to those factories, they were working there. Some of them, according to the Western press, they were overworked and exploited.
Yeah, they were.
But from their own perspective, they were not. So because they were better than what they were before.
They were before.
Yeah, so that's what matters. And then because they also have the one-child policy, so it means that the little money they are getting, they were able to save.
Yeah.
As much as 80%.
And train their children.
Yeah, and use it to train their children.
Wow.
So if you have only one kid, and then you have 2 income in the family, and 80% of your income is going to the child's education. So the child is not going to be poor because he's going to come out with skills and knowledge, and he can move up the ladder. So that's why I'm thinking that all of this is also a product of the Cultural Revolution they went through. Because whereas you may want to dismiss that, because I know some of you who don't like Mao, some of you don't like Emperor Mao. But look, we need serious discipline in this country to move forward, and we need to I think the idea of discipline is already been into Chinese culture before Mao. So before Mao there was Confucianism.
Our cultures were disciplined until we started to just we imbibe everything from our brother and forget where we're coming
Yeah,
from?
I think our own peculiar issue, of course, is the fact that I don't know where to put it, but I think we were consumed by socialism, our intelligentsia.
Oh, wait. Yeah, yeah, what they call an ideologue. You know, you are very much ingrained and indoctrinated. So
Wow.
I wouldn't let you get away with that. Because of social. Are you sure that socialism and capitalism are not dead?
I think socialism is probably dead, even though it has been revived in places like Venezuela, and but.
Why am I saying that?
Yeah.
There are 4 types of capitalism. There's the social capitalism, which they practice in Scandinavia. Okay, and you see that most people in those places are well taken care of.
Yeah.
30% of people work for government.
Okay.
There's the liberal capitalism, which is what the Americans say they are practicing.
Yeah.
There's crony capitalism, which they practice in South Korea, that they use to raise what they call the chaebols, the Daewoo's,
and
the Samsung, the LG, all of these big companies, Hyundai and co.
Yeah.
You know, and of course there's the state capitalism of China.
Yeah.
So you have all of this kind of capitalism. You know. So are you sure that the best approach, and of course today I think that United States is more socialist than China, and China is more capitalist than the United States.
That's very correct.
But they will never admit to you. So are you sure that a wise country should not be mixing the two, rather than you banishing socialism, as you have said?
Okay, so I've already shown the impact that the welfare program in the US had on the black population, for example, which was negative. So they were doing better before welfareism than they are doing now. Because it encourages misbehavior. So, I mean, once you have a little dispute with your husband, you just divorce him because the government will take care of you. And you become a single parent.
Last word from you, under 10 seconds. Which way forward for Nigeria?
So for Nigeria...
And we see Nigeria is not a socialist country. We are capitalists, but we're getting this wrong.
Yeah, so I was hoping we were going to talk about IBB and SAP.
Yes,
because that was one...
No time for that.
Okay,
but you can chip it in quickly.
Okay. So we attempted to do liberal economic reform for the first time during the IBB regime, and it was basically sabotaged by Nigerians who basically demonstrated, and they were rioting all over the place. And IBB was was forced. They basically abort the policy. But looking back, you can actually see that it made some impact. So the economic growth at that time was probably the highest we've seen, apart from the oil boom in the 70s.
Okay.
So there was.
We'll have to end it here, but I'll keep let you know. We're still living with some of the legacies of IBB. Devaluation of currency from when it was 1 naira for $2. Today is $600, 600 naira to $1 and co. And we are not out of the woods yet. So I would disagree on that with you, but perhaps we'll call you another day to come and have this discussion, and let's extend it and talk about some of the more specific issues we weren't able to cover today. So welcome and thank you for coming, Engineer Ahmed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, viewers, for staying with us. See you next week.